If they were to not win the championship, why do you think it'll be?
If they don't win the championship, it'll be because the better team won. And playoffs again. But matchups are important, and I think problem solving is important. And sometimes you run into a problem you can't solve.
That was JJ Redick previewing last year's NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks. It's been the history of the NBA playoffs that it's a game of matchups and schemes, but it's also been seen throughout the history of the WNBA playoffs, specifically the recent series between the Minnesota Lynx and Connecticut Sun, where both coaches and teams made huge tactical adjustments throughout the series in hopes of presenting a problem the other one couldn't solve. Minnesota would come out victorious for this reason, but to understand why and how they prevailed in this grueling series, we need to go back to Game 1, where the Sun's stifling defense proved too much to handle for Minnesota's pick-and-roll offense. It wasn't at all a high-scoring affair, but the Sun put together a marvelous game plan to prevent Minnesota from getting open looks. Alyssa Thomas mucks up this ball screen action by switching and playing physical, and Mabry stunts at the post to provide help if needed. DeJournette closes out to the swing pass, which gives AT and Veronica Burton time to switch back, and the whole possession turns into a mucky sequence for Minnesota. On offense, it was Marina Mabry's off-ball movement that created problems for the Lynx defense. This inverted screen discombobulates the Lynx, and she gets a wide-open three at the top of the key. But in my opinion, a lot of the Lynx' defensive issues in Game 1 stemmed from a lack of discipline. Bridget Carlton overhelps on this AT drive for no reason, and it leaves Mabry open for yet another one of her 6 made threes in this game. By having Mabry fake screens and flow into pin-down actions, the Sun could not only find open looks from above the break, but also punish the Lynx for playing so far off Connecticut's players. And throughout the series, this was a common theme as Minnesota constantly went under on these staggered away screens, this time on DeJournette, because she isn't a pull-up shooting threat. With AT on the ball and Mabry being the only movement shooting guard in the starting lineup, the Lynx were not put in a losing situation by giving the Sun guards so much space. Even if it's DeWanna Bonner, the second all-time leading playoff scorer, the same principles apply, as Napheesa Collier is able to meet her on time despite going under 2 screens. In their Game 1 win, it was mostly the defense that proved to be the difference maker. As great as the Lynx defense has been all year, it was actually the Sun who finished the second half of the season stronger and posted the best regular season defensive rating for the second time in 4 years. Stephanie White certainly did a phenomenal job maximizing this team's offensive ceiling despite this glaring weakness, but it didn't pose an unsolvable problem for Reeve and this Lynx team. Meanwhile, the Lynx were looking to attack Connecticut's Bree Jones in pick and roll by using speed and quickness to their advantage. Like the New York Liberty, the Lynx are more than capable of punishing teams that switch these screening actions. Here, AT switches onto Courtney Williams in pick and roll, which leaves Bonner on Collier. McBride spots the mismatch down low, but Connecticut doubles the post once Fee gets the ball, and it leads to an open 3 for Elena Smith. And this 5-out approach is in many ways the epitome of modern basketball. Most teams in the W don't have this type of luxury, which is why at many times this postseason, the Lynx offense has looked like poetry in motion. It's not complicated at all. When the Lynx run pick and roll and the defender is not up at the level of the screen, the Lynx can punish you with pull-up 3-point shooting. And if teams decide to put 2 on the ball, even for a split second, the Lynx have solid passers that can make the easy pocket pass. This pick your poison offense peaked for Minnesota in Game 3, the game they posted a 121 offensive rating, their best number of the series. Courtney Williams goes after Bree Jones in pick and roll here, but rejects the screen when she sees Jones committing to a hard hedge. The crossover forces Carrington to pick up the ball, but with now nobody covering the rolling Smith, it's an easy pocket pass. This time the Sun blitz Williams in pick and roll, which again leaves Fee wide open to receive the pass, but when Connecticut tags the roller, that only leaves a 40% 3-point shooter in Kayla McBride wide open for the corner 3. So later on in the game, the Sun tried switching the pick and roll, but again, this only leaves a guard onto a big, and when Elena Smith receives the entry pass at the free throw circle, she can make an easy entry pass to Collier for 2. A few minutes later, the Sun switch again with DeJournette on Collier, and this time it's a beautiful spin move from the perimeter that frees up the MVP for an and one layup. It seemed like no matter the scheme, Minnesota had the answer, especially in any action involving Bree Jones, who on this play is unsure if they are doubling or hedging and gives up a wide open 3 to McBride again. And this speaks volumes to how, in many cases, good offense with a 5-out structure can beat good defenses. Because despite having the best point of attack defender in the league in DeJournette and pick and roll defender in the league in AT, Connecticut had no answer for the Lynx pick and roll in Game 3. However, in Game 4, Stephanie White made some adjustments that proved to be effective, moving Ty Harris into the starting lineup for Mabry and having Thomas play at the level of the screen instead of switching or dropping. This meant reducing Bree Jones's minutes. She only played 14 in Game 4, which is only half of what she played in Game 3, but it paid off because Connecticut was much better at defending the pick and roll actions. AT plays at the level of the screen here, quickly dropping back once DeJournette has made up the empty space around the corner, but also notice how Veronica Burton slides over from the opposite corner to provide additional help defense and force a turnover. Despite the Lynx having great 3-point shooters at every position, this was a deliberate move by White and the Sun because this skip pass to the opposite corner is almost impossible for the Lynx small guards to make with multiple bodies bearing down on them. Occasionally, they would provide drop on possessions that included both DeJournette and AT because of the agility and strength they both provide, but for the most part, this was rare in Game 4. AT as a pick and roll defender is so imposing because she can play any scheme possible. Natisha Heidemann doesn't know if AT is going to blitz, hedge, or back off here, so she passes up a middle pick and roll with the opposite corner cleared out so she can attack a less balanced floor, and it leads to a bad shot. On offense, Connecticut was able to find success going back to an old staple, the inverted pick and roll. We're typically used to seeing a big set screens for a guard, but the Sun like to have their guards set screens for their bigs, which is not only uncomfortable for opposing bigs, who typically are worse at navigating screens than guards are, but in Connecticut's case, it allows for AT to get downhill with some momentum and be an aggressive scoring threat. With AT away from the ball in previous games, the Lynx could ignore her because she wasn't a shooting threat, which clogged up the paint for her teammates and meant the Lynx could send double teams without any consequence. But in Game 4, the Sun absolutely abused the inverted pick and roll, running it a total of 12 times, which, according to Second Spectrum, was the most of any game this postseason, and the Sun scored a whopping 1.6 points per possession on these plays, and with their backs against the wall, posted their best offensive rating of the series because of this play. Because the Lynx were so afraid of putting a small guard like Heidemann onto the bigger AT, Minnesota's bigs had to go under these screens, which gave AT all the momentum she needed to get downhill and establish inside position. Also, by adding Ty Harris to the starting lineup, it gave Connecticut another quality screener and someone who can knock down pull-up jumpers in pick and roll. So with the series tied 2-2 and both teams making critical adjustments to keep the other team at bay, the match ultimately came down to Collier and Courtney Williams. Remember JJ Redick's quote from the beginning of the video? Well, the series ultimately came down to the Sun having a more solvable offensive scheme than Minnesota. In Game 5, the Lynx decided to switch and hedge these inverted screens, which prevented AT from gaining downhill momentum and gave the Lynx guards time to recover to their woman. Head coach Cheryl Reeve promised that the Lynx would be better defensively in Game 5, and that preparation was clearly on display. Notice how Bridget Carlton closes out to defend a potential swing pass to Mabry, conceding a wide open 3-pointer to DeJournette because Mabry is a much better shooter. On offense, the Lynx continue to ignore Connecticut's non-shooters, including AT, who, despite being a great passer and defender, has very limited value away from the ball because she can't shoot. And on offense, the Courtney Williams and Nafisa Collier pick and roll proved to be unstoppable. Even when AT picks up Williams at the level, she's able to drag the play out away from any help defense and drain a pull-up midi. When the Sun decided to double court and tag the roller, she made the pass to the wing shooter, in this case McBride, for some easy shooting practice. And of course Collier, with her remarkable isolation ability, was able to punish switches in the pick and roll, which basically neutralized any remaining pick and roll scheme left and ultimately presented Connecticut with a problem they just couldn't solve. Bree Jones was a potential X factor remaining for Connecticut, as she's big enough to punish the Lynx's bigs with her size, but as we've mentioned, lacks the foot speed to effectively contain the 1-5 pick and roll. So, in the end, the Minnesota Lynx would prevail in a physical and grueling 5-game series between two of the best coaches in the world, two of the best teams in the world, thanks to a futuristic offense and defense that, in the end, proved to be too much to stop. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it to the end, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I will be posting video breakdowns for each game in the WNBA Finals, so be on the lookout for that, as well as a top 10 preview video that explains my criteria for this upcoming ranking. I've included a Google form in the description box below where you too can rank your top 10 WNBA players from this season, and at the end of the finals, I'll tally up all the votes and include the results in my final top 10 ranking video. Also, if you like this video, make sure you follow me on Twitter. It'll be also linked in the description box below, and there you can interact with me about the game more directly. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.